Okay, I'm back for another video on Composer.trade, and what I'd like to do is to introduce you to the Discover feature. And if you want to, you can open an account for free. There is a code in at the bottom of the video which you can use. So if you sign up, you can save on signing up. Okay. So let's take a look at one of these, and we'll talk a little about how these work. These Discover symphonies are all mostly community based and created. So these are people like you and me creating symphonies that you can share with others. So I'm going to show you one of these, and we're going to go a 1 year chart return here. So on this one, you could see that this performs very well. And there's a thing here called the out of sample start date. And what is that? All right, so when you do a back test, which is what this is, right, it's looking historically at what would have happened if you used this strategy going forward. Now, the problem is that when you're looking back historically, as they all say on Wall Street, does not guarantee that the returns in the future are going to be the same. So in this case, we go from 0 to a 78 or 79% gain. And then when this out of sample start date begins, this is basically saying, okay, now you're in the wild again. Is it going to perform the same as it did in the past, in the future? And so far, this doesn't look like it's doing quite as well as it was. So you have let's just start this at 79%. Where does it end up? It ends up at 91, which is not too bad, you know, still rising, but not quite as much as this. So what happened with the S&P? We went from 19% to 27%. So it kind of like, from this period, it really worked about the same as the market. And so you want to be careful to make sure that when you look at some of these symphonies, you check to see how this symphony has done from the time that this out of sample start date shows up here. So looking at the returns from this, we have a 27% return over 1 year for the S&P 500 and a 91.5% for this particular one. What's striking is that you get this, you're getting this type of return with barely little more risk to the downside than the S&P itself. And that's what you're really looking for, is to create something that has higher returns with less of a chance of high drawdown. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of others, just so you could see that these things are kind of all over the map, you know. Let's go take a look at, say, this one here. You see a lot of these ones called beta baller. Don't know why they have that name. In any case, this one, if you just look at it, you could see that this fluctuates wildly, right? Not my kind of symphony to go into. You might have high returns, right? We go down here. Not even that good on the returns. So this one doesn't look like a winner to me. Take a look at another one. So here's one. I'm going to find something else. Let's go look at the next page. And where is that? Oh, I got to go over here. Oh, there's only 14. Okay, that's because I got this filter in here. Okay, take that out. Okay, so let's take a look at another one. This one is also a pretty good performer. We look here, huge returns, right? But the drawdown is very high, right? Standard deviation is also something that you can look at. The higher the number, the more volatile the symphony is. So although you're getting really good returns here, personally, I don't want to be in something that drops from a 348% gain to almost less than half. in a period of a couple of weeks. So that's not worth the risk to me. So I look for ones that say have a pretty good Sharpe ratio. Let's go here. So you can see the Sharpe ratio is very high here, but look, there's no drawdown and there's not much of a return either. So if we go down, I'm going to try to find something with a decent return. Okay, so here's one that has very high, well, let's just open it, look at it. Okay, so this looks like it's going straight up. You can see this it doesn't run the entire time that the S&P does here. It starts right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that date, September 18th. Let's go there. Set that September 18th, and we'll run it. So now we're seeing, both symbols performing over the same time. And let's look at how this one does. So it's got a very high Sharpe ratio, and the drawdown is not that bad right there. So drawdown on the SPY is 4.2. This is more than double it, but look at the return. You're getting 240% a return annualized, or actually this is just over this period. So it can be wild, the returns you get, right? But you always have to be careful with these because look, this is in Bitcoin. It's in a 2 times leveraged MicroStrategy and a 3 times leveraged tech shares. So it looks like it does pretty good the way it trades. However, be careful because these can bite you when you're in these high volatile names. Okay, but not a bad look to it. Okay, let's do one more. Let's see here. Let's take a look at this one. It's okay, but pretty wild on the jumps and then the falls. I'm going to skip that one. Let's go to something else. A Bitcoin strategy. Let's take a look at this one. No, that's way. Your eyes can tell you when something is really good or not, and so you can flip through these things and look at them to find something that's going to work pretty well. Okay, let's see. I want to find something. This one says basic portfolio. Let's look at this. Okay, so this one has some interesting features. It is generally on the upslope the whole time, and when the S&P dropped here, this had a huge gain. And so this is one of those things with algorithmic trading that you really couldn't do manually, So it's looking behind the scenes to see for a particular sign that when the market's about due for a drop, it will put you in something that will actually gain you while the market's dropping, like that. See that? All right, so this is pretty good. Let's look at the return here. So we have 27% return for the S&P, doubles here, but look, the drawdown is less than half of the S&P. So this is something that you would consider. I like this because it's got a mixture of things that are going to buffer those wild swings. Like you do have this, in this case, a 3 times leveraged short on the Treasury market, but it's only 17%. So this might be a pretty good one to look for. It's basic portfolio. You could look at that. Just wanted to give you an idea what you're looking for when you're flipping through these community discovered symphonies. One last one. Let's look at this one. Leveraged play. So this is probably using these leveraged ETFs, whether it's 2 times or 3 times. So in this case, it's in a single financial bull share at 3 times the leverage. So that can be dangerous, but if it's set up in a reasonable way, let's just look at this. It's up at 883%. What happens? Yeah, it drops, it drops like 40%. But, when you're up that much, it depends on your tolerance level, right? Um, but I would consider this to be a reasonable one. You want to make sure that you test it over more than this time. This is 1 year. Let's do 3 years and see what it looks like. Okay, still pretty good, right? Still moving higher. Now, remember what I said about this out of sample start date. It's testing all of this historically, but you have no idea whether it's going to perform the same going forward. So it's always good to look for a out of sample date that's a little further back, that gives you more time to see how it's done since it was put into motion. Okay, so that is the discovery feature. This has community. It has these ones over here are issued by Composer. They're generally a little more tame in terms of their returns. So if you want to keep your risk lower, going over here to ride the momentum or long-term investing might be a good option. Okay, so there you go.